and welcome everyone. You're a part of the first Black Alumni Connect weekend, and definitely you should pat yourself on the back because who else can say that? I'm extremely excited for this event to come to life, build community, foster relationships, and ignite engagement, and I hope you are too. How to land your dream job comes with challenges and triumphs, and here to help us navigate the discussion is a graduate of UCSB in 2012 with a double major in communications and business economics. She prides herself in storytelling, connecting people, cultivating inclusive environments. She's a speaker, mentor, leader, and advocate. As content design manager at Intuit, she partners with leaders across disciplines, functions, and design crafts to elevate opportunities for everyone. Now to bring it all together and moderate How to Land Your Dream Job, Miss Aladrian Goods.
What's up, Gauchos? Hello, good to see everyone. Ryan, thank you for that amazing introduction. You gave me an extra degree there, so I really appreciate that, honorary biz econ degree. So I'm super excited to be here. Like Ryan said, I'm here to lead this conversation around getting your dream job. And we got Gauchos from all over. We got some old school, we got some new school, and really looking forward to this dynamic conversation. So if you want to put your questions, put them in the chat or the Q&A function, and let's get this started. So to kick us off, let's start with Michael Johns, class of 95. Michael, would love to get a quick introduction to you. And the one question I'd like you to answer is, how are you adding more joy to your life?
Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here. Yes, and thank you for giving me the moment here. So that was a great question. So again, Michael Johns, I graduated in 1995. Proud Gaucho. Went on from UCSB to Columbia University. I got a master's in organizational psychology there. From New York, came to Los Angeles, where I am currently, and I've been here ever since. Currently over at Warner Media, supporting the HBO Max team, helping their data analytics team grow, and making the HBO Max platform what it is today, and trying and getting it to where it's going to be in the future. So yeah, again, happy to be here. That's me now. Now to answer your question, how do I add happiness to my life is the question?
Or create more joy in your life?
Create more joy, sure. Well, I've actually been focused on that lately because we know, these jobs, dream jobs and otherwise, can be very hectic. And so I've really been focusing on adding even if small pieces of a routine designed to kind of maybe take a step back, and things like maybe a little bit of meditation in the morning, make sure I get out for a walk during the day, make sure I'm taking breaks. And I've science has really found that if you kind of work, push all through the day, stay in your seat the whole day, maybe take one lunch, but just working continually, you're not as effective. Your brain is not as active as if you were to take small breaks, maybe a 5 or 10 minute break throughout the day, every hour, every half hour if you could. And I've been doing some more reading and attending some seminars on that. They've really been a big, actually within a seminar, I think that Prince Harry and Serena Williams was a part of recently. They're both big proponents of just self-care. And some of the things they recommended, again, those breaks, taking walks, getting outside in nature is a great way to recharge. It really just slowing down, giving yourself permission to slow down from time to time, and just kind of relax and be in the moment. Not that you're not aware of things you need to do, but taking that anxiety out of it,
I love that.
Possible.
I love that. So those mindful moments, whether it's going outside, taking a break, and just getting up away from your seat or from your computer. I love that. So thank you so much. Excited to hear more from you. So I'm going to pass it over to Mutiara Williams, class of 07. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you, team. Really excited to be here. Again, Mutiara Williams, recently married. I'm slowly working on the name change to Abby. So if you're looking for me on LinkedIn, you might find me via Williams or Abby. Switching slowly at a time. So a little bit about me. Again, I graduated in 2007 with a degree in business economics and a minor in Asian American studies. I worked in many industries throughout with retail, medical, manufacturing, as well as devices, and then also now in aerospace more predominantly. I worked on both coasts many times. So California to New York, back to California to Boston, back to California. So I've kind of been all over the place, and I currently lead the head of HR for systems engineering and the Office of Mission Assurance for NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory based out of Pasadena. Currently residing from my home in Orange County, though. That's where I've been for quite some time, as I'm sure many of you have too. What brings me joy? So similar to Michael, actually, I like to take time to self-reflect. Previously, it was always on my commutes because I'm used to having long commutes living in Orange County and always working in LA or whatever big respective city I'm in. So I found that exercise, sitting on the treadmill or outside on my patio with my dog, but really intentionally applying some thought into how my day went in my personal life and then also for my professional life. So what went well today? What didn't go well today? What can I do tomorrow to be better? How can I be a better wife? How can I be a better mom to my fur baby, a better daughter, friend, professional, leader at work in the HR space, support to my clients? And that has really propelled me to move forward in a positive way and make sure that I find those little lessons learned in everything that I do.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, you're right. Most of us are at home not doing those long commutes. So I love what you said about being intentional and really thinking about how you're showing up as a mom, or I don't know if you said mom, but dog mom.
Fur mom.
Fur mom, there you go. as a fur mom, as a colleague, as a leader. So I think that's super important. So now we're gonna pass it over to Dr. Ashley Davis. How are you? Give us a little introduction and how are you creating more joy in your life?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you all so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I think sometimes the farther I get away from my UCSB days, I almost forget that I'm a Gaucho and that I'm a UCSB alumni. So it's just an honor and a pleasure to be here. I am Dr. Ashley Davis. I am a servant leader. I'm a lover, sometimes a fighter. I am a motivator. And just a person who is a conduit for other people. It's an honor to be here. My journey is just such an amalgamation of so many different experiences and so many different places and spaces. But after leaving UC Santa Barbara with a Bachelor of Arts in Black Studies and a minor in sport management, I went on to work in the nonprofit sector, also youth sports and development. I spent 5 summers working at Kobe Bryant's basketball academy as an assistant director, leading intern teams of 50 plus people. And then I went on to go to Concordia University in Irvine, where I got a master's degree in coaching and athletic administration. Then I went on to go work in intercollegiate athletics, serving at a mid-major Division I institution in California. And then I also pursued a doctor of education in educational leadership. And that journey really enabled me to understand what my impact on this world was really going to be. And it was to use my own alignment, my own maturation to open doors for other people and to create places and spaces where people could really understand what they can bring to this world. And so that's what I mean when I say that I'm a conduit. I'm just a channel for other people to have greater understandings of who they are and what they can be. I currently serve as a senior consultant for leadership and organizational development at one of the largest healthcare systems in the Pacific Northwest. I'm also a certified life coach as well. So much of who I am is just pouring into other people and getting people to understand their own capacities and the heights that they can reach just by understanding what alignment means and how by finding alignment within, you can then find success that really speaks to you. Because it's one thing to be successful, but it's another thing to find success that you can sustain because it really speaks to who you are as a person. And what brings me joy? I am a proponent of joy and peace. If it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. So as of late, What's really bringing me joy and increasing my peace is just the fact that I'm just romanticizing my life, right? Not waiting to burn the good candle. So if that means eating lunch off my good china, that's what I'm going to do on a random Tuesday, or, dressing up with nowhere to go. But really taking advantage of this life that I've been so blessed with and not waiting to do those things for a specific time or for a specific moment. We're going to take the moment and make it good. We're not going to wait for the good moment. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you all.
Wow, Dr. Davis, that was so beautifully said. Like, yeah, let's get some snaps going, because that was incredible. And I love, first of all, shout out to KBA and all the alumni there. Man, rest in peace, Mamba forever. But yes, I love what you said about like not waiting for the moment to do things. Like, dress up if you want to dress up, eat on the fancy dishes if you want to eat on the fancy dishes. And if it costs you your peace and it costs you your joy, you heard what she said, it's too expensive. So last but not least, we're going to bring it over to Josh Borgarbel. What's good, Josh? Calling in live from All-Star Weekend.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing? Nice to meet you all virtually. My name's Josh Borgarbel. I'm a graduate of UCSB, class of 2014, sorry about that, communication major. I graduated after starting the Black Business Association there, and took a job at Oracle doing software sales there for about a year and a half. Moved to China, lived there for a couple of years. And then I moved to LA to work at CA for about a year and a half before transitioning over to Octagon in March of 2018. I've been with Octagon ever since. I now serve as an agent with them in the basketball department. Love the people I work with, love the clients I work for. That's what brings me joy day in and day out. And beyond that, I love to spend time with my family, going to church, working out, and just kicking it with friends. Some of the job can be like, tedious, or it can feel like you're doing so much and not giving enough time to yourself. So I just like to find things and try new things too, that just keep you motivated and keep you hungry for more. So great meeting you all, and thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I guess we got a little bit of time. I should tell people who I am as well. Is that all right? Is that all right with y'all? So, hey, everyone. I'm Aladrian Goods. I graduated from UCSB in 2012, and I'm a comm major. And I started my career out in marketing events, and through, studying abroad or living abroad, I did like direct email marketing, did some content marketing, and slowly but surely, I've made my way back into tech, where I started off as a content designer, but over the last month or so, just moved into a design manager role at Intuit. So super excited to be moderating this conversation. And speaking of getting straight out of college, right? If you guys could think back, Mutier, I'm going to start with you. Think back to your immediate life after UCSB. Talk to us about your professional journey and what were some of the challenges you faced and unexpected surprises?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So when I immediately graduated UCSB, I joined Target Corporation in their management development program. And I did that for about 7 years. And they're the ones who sent me over to New York. While being in the retail space, doing HR leadership out in the field wasn't ideal for my future long-term career, because for one, the schedule is really difficult, knowing that every holiday you're in the retail store, there's an uptick in customers and sales during December, when I imagined a life where I wanted to be home with my family. And so now I'm there. But throughout that experience, there's a couple of things that really stand out to me. One is that every experience matters, even if it's not where you want to be in the future. There is something to take away from that. So my journey with Target, I had a great time. I speak very highly of that organization, specifically because they taught really essential leadership skills that most corporations won't give you. Their focus is really pouring everything they have into developing your raw talent and the leadership experiences you've had from undergraduate or even graduate programs, and then going into being successful in your career. The other thing that I would say was difficult for me, and it took me some time to get used to, is that I was used to the sense of instant gratification and success. So when you're in school and you're growing up, you're studying for a test, you do well, you get the A. You're playing a sport, you're practicing, you win the game. There's always something that you can really see this kind of immediate sense of achievement. And going into the professional space, recognizing that change takes time and improvements take time, and there is an adjustment, and celebrate the small wins and really make sure that you take care of yourself and you listen to what's going well, what are things that you can do differently, and take that as little bit of nuggets to put in your pocket to move forward. And once you get that success, it's all worth it, because then you'll know that everything you put into it really mattered, and you'll be comfortable and happy with where you are.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the insights that I received early in my career is that a short-term decision takes 90 days in a big company. So, you know, being involved on campus, it might seem like, oh, we are the people to make this decision. But in big corporations like Target, or even like Intuit, is that there's so many stakeholders and there's so many conversations and approvals that need to be had. So I love that you brought that up.
Lots of gates. That's right. So
Lots
many
of
gates of approvals.
Exactly. Ashley, what about you? Talk to us about your initial journey from UCSB and what that looked like.
Oof, how much time we got? I don't think we got enough time. You know, I think coming out of undergrad, I remember having a conversation with one of my line sisters. We would have the same conversation like probably 3 or 4 times a week leading up to graduation. And it just stemmed around the fact that whatever it was, it just had to work out. And we were so just worried about what it would look like post-graduation. And her and I actually ended up going to work for the same educational nonprofit after undergrad. And it was a challenge. It was one of those situations where it taught you everything that you needed to know by being exposed to everything that you didn't want to be exposed to. You know, bad leadership is a really good teacher. Serving with folks that don't have the same moral compass as you is a really good teacher. And so for me, coming out of undergrad, it was really making sense of all that. And I'll speak to some things later about how I was able to kind of rectify all that. But for me, it was really just understanding that, you know, you got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to be smart. You have to think through things. Sometimes things are happening to you, but they're really happening for you. And it takes you being able to really think about those things, seek wise counsel, not rush to decisions. I think in my less informed years and my less mature years, I hadn't read 4 agreements yet. So it was taking a lot of things personally, but not really having that wherewithal and that insight to understand that that was just, I was being moved to the next best thing. But I was kind of stuck in that middle, and that middle can be hard sometimes. So for me, it was just really being able to just move slow where I needed to move slow and go fast where I needed to go fast. And in that in between, really take note, really be quiet and take time to understand myself. I'm a very gregarious person, and to the naked eye, it could seem like I am an extrovert, but I am really an introvert with some extrovert qualities. I need to shut Mitiara feels me. I need to shut that door at the end of the day. And so what it really was just making sense of all that and giving myself permission to be that person and live that life and not feel bad about it, and understand that by finding that alignment, things that really spoke to who I was as a person, they were going to come my way, but it all stemmed from me being who I needed to be first and foremost for myself.
Absolutely. And I love that you pointed out that, you know, school's not going to teach you everything. And sometimes you got to go through the bad experiences to understand what you don't like and to give you that vision for what to look for in the future. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that middle a little bit later. So y'all put a pin on that. We'll come back. I'm going to throw it over to Josh. What about you? Like, what was I know you took the tech sales route, but now you're in sports management or sports agent. What was that immediately after college looking like for you?
To be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do right out of college. I knew that I wanted to make some money. And just to give a little bit of background, I was involved with the Comm Association at UCSB. I was very involved with Black alumni already. I taught CLAS classes, and I was an RA on campus. And I started the Black Business Association there to sort of just give more students an opportunity to connect with those companies who were hiring people directly out of college, companies like Target, Oracle, who look for those very recent college graduates. So I moved to the Bay and took that job with an open mind, and I enjoyed it because of the money I was making, but I did not enjoy it for what I wanted to do with my life. So I really had to take a hard look at what I wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to be close to basketball, whether I didn't want to be a trainer, a coach, or anything like that. So a way to stay close to my guys and have an impact, I figured, why not give the agent shot a chance? And it's a grind, right? Like it wasn't easy, and it still isn't easy. Just building those connections, reaching out to people, trying to get your foot in the door, at a lot of agencies, because they're critical in who they hire, right? Because they want to hire some people who are going to perform and do well, but also good people that are an extension of their brand and of their company. So I was fortunate enough to meet people early on who connected me with my bosses now, and Octagon has been a blessing more than my former company at CAA, because I was just in the mailroom there and learned a lot, long hours, late nights, committed to the grind, but just wasn't strictly in basketball. So when, I got the opportunity to be in basketball, I really wanted to take advantage of it and just put my head down, keep my head down, and just learn as much as I can. And, you can land your dream job, right? It's just, and I tell students today, and even friends, no one's journey is the same. Like, my journey isn't the same as other agents or other leaders and professionals. And some may take 2 years to get where they want to be. Some may take 10, like what I give you is advice and people you can connect with, but I can't give you the blueprint, because everyone's path is different. So with that being said, you just got to keep grinding it out. And I think you can accomplish anything you put your mind to.
Yes, I love that. So it sounds like you took that job initially, but you started to see that, hey, just because the money good doesn't mean this is good or in alignment with what it is that I want to be doing. And then taking that intentional step of like, all right, maybe this is not the job, but it's in the industry. And then trying to figure out how much you can learn within the context of CAA, and then moving over to Octagon. So that's awesome. I love what you said. It's like the journey is not the same for everyone. So appreciate you kind of sharing that insight there. And then last but not least, Michael, let's talk to you. Like, what was your immediate journey like out of UCSB, and what are some challenges and unexpected surprises that you had?
Sure. Yeah, and like Joshua, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do upon graduation, and I graduated with a BA in psychology, which is sure probably similar today. It's really, without like a PhD, it's really hard to maybe do certain things, or master do certain things. So I decided, okay, didn't know what I was going to do. I went for some kind of continue my education, and then I guess I mentioned it earlier, I went for that master's. But even then, I was still not exactly sure. I had a path with the degree. But one of the things I guess that was surprising was how difficult it was, right? It wasn't like, things came, people were handing you things, or things came easily. You might get lucky, hopefully you do, right? But often, like, you do have to persevere. You make, like, I remember being, at Columbia and trying to get an internship. So, I'm this California kid now out in New York. And really knocking on doors back then, and just really trying to get this internship. And it just wasn't easy to do. So that was a first surprise, and just how much it was to kind of continue. You just have to kind of grind it out, right? Don't give up. It's not easy for most people, right? You see some people succeeding, but it's not because it was easy necessarily, right? And so that was kind of eye-opening, and just learning to persevere and kind of keep the faith and keep moving forward. What else? So I know that also, in school, you have these deadlines, right? These kind of very, not very structured, but definitely some good amount of structure. I think there's some tests that are coming up. You have to study for. You study. You might even procrastinate, but then the test is there. Coming up, you study. You take the test. Maybe you procrastinate some more. And I was a procrastinator, so I'm focusing on that. But then another kind of deadline comes up, and you study. You take the test, and hopefully you do well each time. But in life, often there's no deadlines, or their deadlines are of a nature that they're pushed out further, right? And so, so for me, I had to adapt, and I still function better when I have deadlines, even to this day. My current job is kind of built-in deadlines, like weekly meetings and things like that, which works well for me. But that was a surprise, having to adjust without the deadlines. What else was a surprise? Now, there also are, I guess, different personalities that you have to deal with. And also realizing now in a position where I'm like, in the part of the hiring process, and I'm dealing with managers, in the case you're making that ultimate hiring decision, finding out, just seeing how important personality is to the decision, right? So you might have the right skill set, which, is, the more closer your skill set matches to the role, the better. But personality is a big piece of that. And a lot of times people are looking for friendly people, outgoing people, those who are able to communicate well, and just seeing how important aspect to maybe landing that dream job, just you being a good person, can, how big of an effect that can have. That was surprising to me as well.
Definitely. Thank you for walking us through that. Yeah, like I love what you just ended with, is that being a good person, or like how you interact with people from a relationship standpoint, can be a critical like resource and catalyst to, the roles you get, the people you connect with, and how you get closer to getting your dream job. And I think the general theme, it just sounds like you didn't get your dream job out of college, right? And sometimes we don't necessarily even know what we want to do out of college. Like, I didn't want to go to work, so I moved to Spain and taught English and kind of put that off for a little bit, and then before coming back and working again. So I'm going to pass this over to Mutiara. So can you define some ways in which you had to pivot over the course of your career in order to land your dream job? So things like translating your skill set, finding transferable skills, if you had to return to work or build your network. Like, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. All of the above, right? All of the above. So I'll give you a few things that were big takeaways for me. If we're thinking about pivoting and transferring skill sets and continuing moving forward, one thing that I realized, aside from, yes, make sure that when you're looking at the job and you're applying for the job, make sure what you choose to represent yourself, whether it's in the interview, in your resume, if it's networking, etc., make sure it's aligned to that job. So if you're pivoting a little bit, I went from retail to aerospace, I needed to make sure that I was really focusing on the things that were pertinent to that job. I'll never forget this experience when I was interviewing with Amazon, and I was interviewing for talent development role specifically. But I use so many examples from HR business partner work rather than talent development. Of course, they called me back and said, we'd love to have you, but we want you to be in HR business partner work. And I thought, oh, wait, shoot, but I wanted to be in talent development specifically. So if I'm thinking about tactical stuff, that's something that's really quite important. And I don't want that to get missed. Another thing that I think a lot of people forget about is when you're looking at what is your dream job and you're assessing, could you do the work? I think a lot of people really turn that reflection inside and think about, do I have the skill set and do I have the experience? But please don't forget that you look back on the job and you exercise an analysis of, do I want to travel that much? Is this going to change my piece, as you say, Ashley? Is this going to impact my personal goals? Is this going to take away my attention from something else if I have to move out of state or out of country. So really thinking about, do you want the job? And then who are the leaders in that job? Do you know them? Do you have a network there? Can you ask people about what their experience has been and what that culture is like? That really matters. And so it might be different, but it might be different in a good way. And so that speaks to pivoting as well. And then the last thing that I'll leave you with on this is it was really, really important that at some point in my career, I started paying attention to the company that I kept in the professional setting. And so that was a big pivot for me, because if I think back on my highs and my lows and where I felt I was at my best and I was inspired and I felt engaged versus times where I felt unhappy or complacent, the company that I kept really mattered. And I always try to thoughtfully surround myself with people who are excited, who have brilliant ideas, who are strategic in the way that they think, that I expect and admire. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be able to learn from other people's experiences and then have people take that same mindset and adapt. Instead of focusing on challenges or struggles, really focus on being a solution-oriented person and individual, and how do we bring that mindset to everybody around us so that we can leave our footprints. And so those are probably the things that I had as my big aha moments of pivoting in my career and what led me to the dream job state, if you will.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Ashley, what about you? What are some things that you had to consider when pivoting from your early career to where you are now?
You know, I think really the light bulb turned on for me. Things really started to go on. I started to really, get going on all cylinders when I really realized that it wasn't so much about me striving for a dream job, but I needed to create my dream life more than anything. I've had experiences where I was giving everything to the job, and there was an unbalance there. That cost me my peace, but also stress. And then that stress impacted my health and multiple other things. So for me, it was realizing that I needed to put myself first and create a life that I love, and then see how the job fits into that life, as opposed to me striving and chasing this job and then trying to fit my life into the job. So I had to, as the great Dr. Lipsitz used to say, turn hegemony on its head. And that's what I tried to do. And so for me, it was realizing that. And then it was all about me becoming the person that I wanted to become, and really looked at how by becoming that person, things would be attracted to me, the right things would be attracted to me. So really getting out of that striving energy every time I went against that, I took an L every single time. I can look back and I can think about every single time I went against my best judgment in that sense and got into that striving energy, that striving mentality. I would undoubtedly end up in some kind of conundrum where I would be like, this just doesn't serve me. And so for me, it was really understanding that pivoting comes in knowing myself, knowing oneself, and knowing what works best for you, and not holding that up to what somebody over here is doing. Because that's a whole different human being with a whole different set of values and morals and a whole different life lens. And I had to own that. And I had to own, what kind of person did I want to be? And what kind of life did I want to create for myself? And what values and morals was I going to hold myself to? And also, I feel like the pivot also came in understanding too that I'm also interviewing the job. They're not just interviewing me, I'm interviewing the job. And really kind of removing myself from that energy of, I'm so grateful to be at the table, because I am, but also like I'm a table too, and I'm allowing y'all to pull a chair up to this table. And, really looking at it in that way, because I really think that sets the tone with these organizations, that you understand who you are, you understand the strengths that you possess, and you also understand what you can add to their organizational environment. And so building off of what Mutiara shared, You know, if you're not asking those questions about what kind of organizational culture, what does your work-life balance look like? If you're not asking those questions, you're not able to really understand how this job is going to serve you and how this job is going to pour back into you. And so once I really began to connect all those dots, for me, that's where my pivot came. And I stopped looking at jobs as the end all, say all, be all. And I started looking at my life as something that I wanted to build and create, and how a job fits into my life and not the other way around.
Well, thank you all for coming. I'm just kidding. No, that was absolutely incredible. And I think the big thing here is what you just said is like, yo, how does this job fit into my life, not my life fit into this job? And I think that's something I've been recently learning too as well, because in trying to get to where I'm at right now, to be in a design leadership position, it was long nights, early mornings, taking every conversation and doing all the things. But then when I looked at it, you know, I wasn't doing the things that I love to do. Like my health was taking a back seat. So now thinking about like, yo, what do I want to do? And how does my job fit into that? Because, you know, we need to be living full lives, not just working our dream job. So shout out to you for that. And Matiera, thank you so much for building that conversation here. So next, I'm going to pass this over to Michael. So how did you develop and define your personal unique brand in order to advance professionally?
Sure. Well, I think before kind of landing my dream job, in my experience, I was at a company for a period of time, almost a decade, and I really, it was a good, solid company. But I felt like I was kind of doing the same thing, kind of year after year. And I wasn't really, and I was comfortable, everything was moving ahead, which was great. But I felt like I kind of came to a point where I needed to make a change. And so that was kind of the first step, just deciding I wanted to make a change. As far as getting that dream job, I think first of all, you have to, identify what that dream job is, right? You really have to kind of narrow your focus towards that. And then prepare for it, because that time from that time from identifying what I wanted to do to getting into that position, there was a process, right? And it looked like just a kind of a preparation process, and kind of like Matar was alluding to, there is that kind of the technical piece where you want to get your resume together, right? But things like that. So I did do things like that. And nowadays with COVID, your online presence is just as important as, anything else. So I started, getting experience at my current role that I thought would align me well to the new role. So I just look for those opportunities. There were some, like there's some companies I was working with, I was a specific niche field that I wanted to transition into. So I started focusing on that area. Again, thinking I'll be able to put that on my resume later. And so I kind of, just really looking to focus. So also was really focused on kind of personal excellence, right? I want to kind of step my game up. And so I figured I better really step my game up now, and so I focus on, I think what Stephen Covey has a book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the things he talks about is being as opposed to appearing, right? And so not just appear excellent, or try to put on that excellent face when you get into that interview. You really I try to become that when no one was watching. So that was a process as well. Getting in shape and just really being excellent with your communication, your work product, your written communication and verbal communication. To really start preparing with things like that, and then. As far as, and you got to take that risk, right? So you go, you apply for a job, you may or may not get that job, but to persevere, again, keep persevering. And then another thing I found was once you get that job, it's one thing to get the job, right? But then you have to keep that job, right? And often you're in a situation where you haven't been in before, right? And so really trying to improve yourself, trying to stretch yourself, and being okay in that period, that with that uncomfort. It's going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. There's going to be things you don't know. Just kind of learning to be okay with that. Doing your best, that's going to be required, but to being okay with that, that uneasiness, that learning curve. So that was a big part of it as well. And so, yeah, so those were the things that really just, that helped me get to where I wanted. And again, it wasn't, and having faith too, because there are some times, even in the interview process, for example, where I didn't get the call back right away, right? So, and so I was in a situation where I had to email them, send them like a little letter, and kind of made my case for, why I was a good fit for the role. And I had this, triple checked it, send it off, and just hope for the best. And lo and behold, the next day I got the email, right? Saying they wanted to have a follow-up conversation. And so really just persevering, and it turned out for me in that sense. But yeah, thank you.
No, I love that. Thank you. And I love what you said about being, or instead of, was it presenting?
Yeah, instead of appearing,
appearing,
being something as opposed to being.
Being is yeah, exactly. Because people can kind of see through the facade, right? So like if you embody those things and you're doing the things that make you actually be excellent in those things, that's really, really awesome. And I love what you said about like persevering too, because just because it's the dream job or it's the job that you want doesn't mean that it's not anyone else's dream job as well, right? So it's going to be a process of applying to jobs, maybe not hearing back, or maybe having to put in more effort to do it. And you're going to get a lot of no's before you get that one yes, to really make a difference in your career. So Josh, I'm going to throw it over to you. So how important was your personal network and your willingness to brand yourself influence in your professional journey? And what advice would you give others?
It was extremely important. I mean, that's all I used was my network to really like get the position I'm in now, and it takes years of, like building the relationships, and there's a bunch of steps that you take in between. I think, a mentor of mine is actually on this call, Walter Bogan. He's a UCSB alumni too, and I actually did an internship for him for the Sports Industry Academy, which he still does, which I think is great for students who want to crack the door and get in the industry. But I also, just kept my connections somewhat strong, I should say, just because I would consistently like reach out to agents or people in positions I wanted to be in without bothering them, though, right? There's a balance there, because I think students or even like young professionals have to learn that balance of, when it's too much and when you're reaching out just enough. So I would probably check in like once every couple of weeks, once a month, with agents I actually work with now, just randomly, like how the family's doing, how one of their clients played, something like that. And over the past couple of years, I've become more self-aware and tried to create a better brand image, right? Because I know early on in my career as an agent, as a young professional, you don't think about a lot of the things and how small, how big your network can be, but how small it can be in the game too. Like the agency game, and I'm sure in other people's endeavors, there's some connection and everyone knows everyone, right? So like your personal brand and how you present yourself and how you approach people, talk to people, get to know people, respond to people, like word goes around, right? So I always try to treat people. I mean, it's the golden rule, how you want to be treated. And, I've gotten better at that, because I was on a panel earlier and I remember like, even as a student in SV and when I was living in China for those 6 months, I was applying to agencies like left and right. And just reaching out to random people on LinkedIn, and students or people who want to be in my position hit me almost every day on LinkedIn. And I do a job, my part, by at least responding, right? I may not be able to give them a job, but I will be able to connect them with that person that potentially could, or I know someone who has an opening, or you never know where it can lead. That's a part of why I really want to be successful in this position, because I want to see people do well. That's become an extreme passion of mine. Advice I would give people, particularly to my industry, but also as you try to pursue a career in whatever your dream is just to stay at it. And similar to Michael's point, I'm a very relentless religious individuals. So you have to like keep the faith or follow whatever spiritual journey you're on, because there will be a lot of dark days. There was a few moments where I was just like, there's no way I'm going to be an agent. I'm not going to get with a company. Like, it's just not happening. Then like the next day you get a call or an email that you've been waiting on. So it's like, keep your head high. And that's, to my point earlier, everyone's journey is different, but there's a way to accomplish it, right? So making sure you're self-aware, continuing to expand your network and building on those relationships that may not be as formidable yet, but you want to make them stronger. And just paying it forward too, I think is key, because we've all been in those shoes of students who just don't know what to do or don't know how to get there. So it's like, you talking to them on the phone for 5 minutes can even go a long way.
Yeah, I love that. I think what I really appreciated about what you said is, one is like being self-aware, as well as now that you're in the position that you're in, like being a resource, right? So even if it's not the, Hail Mary that the student may be looking for, you can at least kind of pick up the phone or send them an email that kind of can help build the momentum, or even just be the person that they talk to for a little bit to get to be like that little bit of light for their journey. And I also love what you said about like branding is, yes, what you do and what you put out, but it's also what people say about you when you're not in the room. So being really intentional about that is super important. Cool. So I got a couple more questions here, and then we'll open it up to the group for Q&A. So if you're in the audience and want to ask a question, feel free to drop it in the Q&A, and Brian will be navigating that portion here in a few minutes. So Ashley, earlier in the conversation, you talked about like being in the middle, right? So feeling like something is happening to you, but it's actually happening for you, but you're not really where you want to be yet. So what are some actions or things that folks could do in that middle point to help them on their journey to getting their dream job?
Yeah, I think it's first and foremost just focusing on the present, right? Sometimes we get so bogged down with what could be or what used to be, and then our attention from the present is we stray away from that. So I think first and foremost, thinking about what you're doing right now, really taking into consideration the present, really examining, is what you're doing right now getting you to where you want to be, or do you need to make some tweaks? And really getting honest with yourself about that. Because one thing about the middle, again, it's a conduit, it's taking you somewhere. You're going from one place to the other, but if you can't even think about a strategy as to how and what am I doing today, how is that going to get me to where I want to be? If you're not even asking those questions, there's some sort of disconnect there. And then also too, with the middle, you got to understand, and similar to what Michael spoke on, it's like habits and discipline and excellence. Sometimes it's just a waiting game, but waiting is working. And if you're too eager, Drake says, an eager beaver can be the collapse of a dam. And sometimes, we're overly eager and we're a detriment to our own progress. Whereas if you just wait, you sit, be still and know, and understand that the middle is temporary, but what can I do here now to get me to where I want to be? That's powerful. And in my experience, when I learned the power in that, it took so much pressure off of me, because I understood that so much pressure was self-imposed. And there are destinations, there are people, there are jobs that are being prepared for us in time. And if we rush that, we'll get into a situation where we're not prepared, or that place, that person, that organization isn't prepared for us. And so the worst thing to happen is to have a gem in your hands, but to let it slip through because you rushed it. So the middle is the middle for a reason, and it could get tough to wait, but you got to understand that waiting is working. And for me, I'd much rather come into a situation, a time in my life in due season, than come into the season prematurely and not be ready, be mishandled, or myself mishandle the opportunity.
Yes, I love that. Like, I think, I speak for myself, like coming out of college, really ambitious and wanting to do the startup thing or wanting to do the tech thing, but it didn't really work out because I wasn't mature enough or ready for the roles that were that I was going after. Like I think my first job out of college, I actually got laid off from that job, and like things hit rock bottom for a while.
Same. Yes. Yes.
Same. And it's I love what you said about like really doing an inventory of self and seeing like, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Where can I improve? And being really candid and vulnerable with yourself, because that's the only way you're going to improve and really be ready to receive the job that's being created for you.
And you know, I want to say one more thing because you just brought it up, and I think it's a really great point to make is ambition. It is amazing to be ambitious. Like that ambition is going to get you places, but you also got to know how to manage that ambition to where it doesn't become all encompassing. And then it pushes you into situations that you don't necessarily need to be in, or that timing isn't right. So I just want to mention that ambition is amazing, but you also got to know how to manage that ambition as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, I love that. So I got one more question for all of our panelists, and then we'll jump into the Q&A here. So you have your dream job. Now what? How are you defining your ambitions during this next period of your career? And I think it's a perfect segue to what we were just chatting about. Josh, I saw you hop off mute. What's up?
Well, I was going to shout out Ashley because she's just dropping quotes that I want to put up in my place, you know, handle or mishandle the opportunity. Like, that's what's up. I've never heard that one. So I'm going to steal that, Ashley. Also, now that I have my dream job, now what? I mean, I want to rise to new levels, right? I'm an agent. That has been my dream job since I knew I wasn't playing basketball professionally. Now I want to figure out how to be the best agent, you know? So I'm putting like resources and tools around me. And I mentioned to the panelists on this call before, you know, that may be another move, you know, for the right opportunity for me to really take that next step in my career. I also am figuring out ways to just be smarter and, you know, beat the competition. So thinking if I should pursue an MBA, like there's a lot of things I'm figuring out, but now that I'm an agent, I want to figure out how to be the best agent. That way, you know, my dreams not only came true, but I exceeded my own expectations, you know. It's never ending. Like, I think a lot of people who know me think like I just stress myself out too much because sometimes I lose that life-work balance and just stick to work. So I try to let the wheels off a little bit just to give me a little bit of, you know, freedom sometimes, but I really want to, you know, be the best agent. So I'm just putting the resources around me to do that.
I love that. Let's see, Mutiara, what about you? What are your plans for this next level of
Yeah, sure. Sure. So for me, if I'm thinking about the future, there's two big things that stand out. I always want to make sure that I'm doing something that I feel excited and passionate to get up and do every single day. It doesn't matter how long I'm in the job. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I feel excited every single day, then that matters. If it doesn't, then I make a change. And so I've been in jobs for 7 years. I've been in jobs for 10 months before I made a change. But that's something that really drives me at my core. And then the other thing is, do I get challenged? I don't want to be in a position of complacency. That's my biggest fear. So if I get to do something new, exciting, it is really, really important that I'm always looking for opportunities to pressure test myself. That's where I thrive. And I've learned that that's where I really propel and accelerate into the future. And so it's something that I hold close and dear to my heart to make sure that I stay on top of. And everybody will find their own thing that drives them or motivates them. So it doesn't have to be these things specifically, but search yourself and check it out. Do some self-reflection and think through what that might be for you.
Love it. We'll go Michael, then Ashley, bring us home.
Okay, sure. Now, one thing I'm focusing on still daily is, and a kind of a recurring theme is just that excellence. I really want to kind of, master the job, as Joshua was saying, really kind of be the the best recruiter I can be, or just really just to have excellence in what I do. Because of course, this job here, although it's an awesome job, it's a temporary position, right? You want to, be someplace else. I think that's what this question is alluding to in the future. So one of the the best ways to do that is to be excellent here. And when people will see that, they will see, okay, Michael is excellent here. I'm sure he'll be excellent in the next iteration. So really focusing on that, and there's still where I'm at in this role is still a lot to learn. Excellence, I'm focused on just learning everything I can. There's actually, our organization is great, and they provide a lot of seminars and online classes and management training, just all different types of training. And so I have a few of those on my list for this year. And then also, I am also trying to do some networking. We're all virtual, and so I want to put it on my calendar. Some other people in the organization outside of my small group that I deal with on a weekly basis that I've interacted with, and I really want to reach out to them and set these one-on-ones where you may spend like a half hour and just kind of let them know you get to know them. Obviously hopefully you're choosing someone that you kind of look up to, and they can impart some wisdom to you. And so that's where I am right now, my own journey, really trying to to kind of expand my horizon, learn as much as I can, and then kind of see where that takes me.
Love it. No, I love this pursuit of excellence and building your network. And I think that's I think one thing I just learned recently in my career is that if you're excellent in one thing, then people will seek you out for new opportunities, and you won't have to chase them as much as you're like attracting them because of who you are and who you're being in your current assignment. And Ashley, before we go to Q&A, what are you thinking about, and how would you define your ambitions going into this next period of your career?
This next season of my life and my career is just really defined by me just continuing to become even more of who I am, who God called me to be, really living in that, reveling in that, spoiling the world with my authenticity. In my younger years, it was, a lot of self-doubt and things of that sort. And so once you grow past that, you don't ever want to go back. So for me, it's just always remembering that I am enough, I am who I am, and I lead with that. And so this next season of my life is just doing those things and occupying places and spaces that bring the best out in me. Also too, understanding the places and spaces that cultivate ease. Not that things need to be easy, because there are always going to be challenges, but if I'm consistently bumping my head up against something, maybe I should take a step back and understand that that might not be my avenue, or that might not just be it for me. So really understanding those things. But then also too, just boundaries in life in general, especially with work, the work that I'm so blessed to do. It's very cerebral. I'm consistently pouring into other people, thinking at a high level, conceptualizing. And while I love the work, I also love to shut my computer down at 5 p.m. every single day and not think twice about it. So I think not feeling guilty for the boundaries that I set with other people, set with the job, and going to live my life outside of that. And I packed so much. Sometimes it blows my mind. I jam-packed so much of the front end with so many things, whether it be my schooling or other things. And so now on this side, I feel so grateful that I get to look at life a little bit different, and I get to really enjoy. And I know that by living life in this way right now, I'm somewhat in a middle, right? We're always in some kind of middle. I'm on my way now to the next. But I know for one thing, I'm going to enjoy this present moment for sure, and not take it for granted at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I can listen to this panel talk all day, but it looks like we got a few more minutes and time for a couple of questions. Ryan, I'm going to pass it over to you to kick off the Q&A. You're on mute. Sorry. Oh man, I know he's in it. Ryan, you're on mute.
And I'm getting better with technology every day. What can I say?
There you go.
But first and foremost, I'm just saying, wow, like I'm extremely enthused and motivated after listening to you all. I know that everyone who's participating and that join right now and that will listen to this panel after is going to just find some things that they can take away and continue to grow. One question that did come up that I want to kick off by asking you guys is, when was that moment that confirmed to you that you were going in the right direction, or that aha moment, like, yes, I want that job, or I know the job that I want to land? So if one or two of you guys can speak to that real quick.
Who wants to go?
No one, I'll jump at once.
My aha moment was just, it was a mix of things, like, I speak to my faith a lot, so I feel like God talks to me in signs or by people or where I'm at, so right place, right time, and also just people, your people around you, like, believing in you, like my village is strong, whether it's best friends, family, co-workers. Like I have a strong core, so that keeps me grounded. And it's also like, what, like you can do it. I have a very, like, I've been through quite a few things in life, so it's just like nothing can really, like, break me from getting to where I want to be. So the aha moments have been a mix of things for me, and it starts with those around me, because I don't do it alone without my core that's keeping me grounded.
Appreciate that.
I'll jump in here. So for me, I think you said it well, Josh. Mine also has to do with the people around me. And then also thinking about at the end of my day, when I close down my laptop, am I drained? Am I exhausted? Or do I feel energized and inspired? And so that was a really telling moment for me, when I was more and more pleased with the things that I was able to contribute. And it wasn't keeping me up at night or weighing on my heart heavily throughout the rest of my leisure time while I wasn't at the office or at work. And there's small hints of that. So yes, looking in towards yourself and thinking through what that feels like, but then also, are you really inspired by the people around you, or do you feel like they suck the life out of you? When you get one-on-one time with your leader, is that something that you really look forward to, or is it something that drains you? The work that you're producing, are you proud? Is it something that you really want to share with others? Or is it something that you think, oh, thank goodness I got that done? So those are the types of hints and indicators that I really look to really help me understand when that moment was that the dream job has arrived, if you will.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Another question here in the chat, thinking about organizational culture, what are some red flags for you personally when interviewing for positions?
I'll answer that. I think in my most recent experience coming on with this organization, for me, it was, can I bring my full self to the space and still feel authentic? Do I feel like even in the interview process, am I posturing? Certainly you want to present the best version of yourself always, but was I getting the vibe that who I am as a person wouldn't be enough? And then also when interviewing, asking those kinds of questions, what does work-life balance mean to you all? In what kind of ways do you all have these structures in place to where people can be human? I've been in interview instances where the people interviewing were tired. And that for me was a red flag, because that spoke to, that could be me at some point in time. So I would say really to understand the red flags, really not being afraid to just ask those questions that are on your heart. And if you can't get a straight answer, that's probably a telltale sign.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. And the last question looks like that came through here is, what advice would you give to your younger self, especially in a time when you were struggling? Hindsight is always 20/20. So what would your older self tell your younger self now on sticking it through to land that dream job when the going gets tough?
I think for me, like I would tell myself to slow down, and I don't have to be everywhere all the time.
Mm.
Like to be intentional with my time, with my energy. Yes, it's a good thing. Yes, it's, it's good to be with people. It's good to be liked. It's good to be like engaged, but you don't have to be everything to everyone, and you don't have to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah, for me, it would be to be patient and to not worry about comparing yourself to other people or feeling bad about what you don't have. Celebrate yourself, celebrate your accomplishments, celebrate the things that you're doing to get yourself. It's a journey for all of us. We take very different paths, but as soon as you find yourself, it'll all be worth it, and enjoy it.
Perfect. This conversation was absolutely gold. Again, I appreciate all the time that you guys, sewed into to all of us and all those who are listening. Be sure to look out for the network mixer that happens at 4 o'clock if you can make it. And definitely look forward to connecting in future events. Thank you all for your time, and I'll throw it over to Julie. And without further ado, up next is the 4 o'clock mixer.
Yeah.
I hope you all will join us. And I just want to thank the panelists, Ryan, Aladrian for moderating. This was so phenomenal. And thank you so much for your time. And I hope to see everyone at 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Awesome. Thank
You
you.
all stay
Thank
in
you,
touch.
team.
Stay in
You're
touch.
connected.
Be well,
Take
be
care,
safe,
all.
and thank you.
Go Gauchos.
That's right.